All right, Jevuos, good morning. We have a beautiful, beautiful daf ahead of us today, daf Lamed Aleph. A lot of very interesting sugyas. We are beginning. So today's daf is 31. We are beginning on Lamed Amud Beis, 5 lines up from the bottom. Tan Rabbanan. Tan Rabbanan. I'm supposed to say now, this parak is getting a lot into the certain requirements of what we'll call judicial behavior. What's proper protocol for the dayan, and what's proper protocol ultimately again for the Beis Din. Says the Gemara, Tan Rabbanan, Minayin l'dayan shlo yasa sanigoren lidvarov. Well, this is actually a very interesting statement. How do we know that a dayan should not go ahead and defend his words? Now, what does that mean? Take a look at Rashi. Shlo yasa sanigoren lidvarov. Imdan din v'libo no kfol lomar shutoeh lo yachzik dvarav lahavi rayos lamidon shu bosh lachzor el lakol tzdadim yachzor lahotzi din lamitra. Both say, how do we know that if a dayan, a judge, realizes that the opinion that he is advancing is wrong? So I'll say, how do we know that he should not continue to advance it, but instead, again, he should admit he was wrong and rule correctly? Now, I'll say, you understand, this is not just a din and a dayan. And it's not just about judges. Unfortunately, situations like this for us are maisim b'choyom. Rabbi say, I realize that there's a shita or a hashkafa or an opinion that I have in life, and I'm wrong. I'm wrong. But what happens? I've spent so much time either defending this opinion or so much time proving to everybody that I'm right that I'm simply unwilling to back down. And people perpetuate falsehood. I know it's false. I know it's wrong. But I'm so invested in it that I can't back out. So how do I know that I'm not allowed to do this? So the Gemara says, Talmud Lomar midvar sheker tirchak. Therefore the pasuk says you should stay away from dvar sheker. You should stay away from lies. How do we know that a dayan should not go ahead and have a Talmud bar? Both say Talmud bar means an unfit student. How do I know that a dayan should not mentor an unfit student, someone who is not appropriate, ultimately again to train to be a dayan? Talmud lomar midvar sheker tirchak. Distance yourself from lies. Minayin l'dayan sheyodeh lechaver shu gazlan. Uvechein eid sheyodeh bechaver shu gazlan. Minayin shlo yitztarif imo. We'll say, how do I know that a dayan who knows that his friend is a thief, or an aid, a witness, who knows that his friend is a thief, and now again, this other dayan wants to sit on the bench with the first, or the two of these guys know eidos together and they want to testify together? How do I know that even though, my friend happens to be testifying correctly about this situation, but I know that he's a ganav? How do I know that I should not testify along with him? Talmud lomar midvar sheker tirchak. Therefore, the passage says you shall distance yourself from a dvar sheker. So how do I know that if a dayan knows that the particular case in front of him, the witnesses are lying? How do I know that if he knows that the witnesses are lying? So the Gemara says, "Shelo yomar hoil va'idim me'idin achtechenu v'yek top of Lamed Aleph v'kolar tzav taloi b'tzavar idim." Well, so how do I know that the dayan shouldn't say the following? Let's say the dayan is in the middle of the case and he realizes that the witnesses are lying. So we'll say it's easy for the dayan to say, listen, you know what? It's not really my problem. At the end of the day, there are witnesses here. We're going to judge the case based on the witnesses. And if the witnesses are lying, then at the end of the day, that's their problem. Literally, again, let the yoke be suspended around their neck. In other words, let them bear responsibility. Talmud lomar midvar sheker tirchak. Therefore, the pasuk says what? The pasuk says, distance yourself from a lie. So we'll say in all of these cases, these are situations where the dayan himself is not actively doing anything wrong, but instead there's an obligation here to distance yourself from false circumstances and from false situations. The Gemara goes weiter. Minayin l'talmud shosei lamed aleph amud aleph, 4 lines down. Minayin l'talmud shosei l'fnei rabo v'roa zechus la'ani v'chov la'ashir minayin shelo yishtok. But say, how do I know? Listen to this. Let's say again, I'm a talmid, I'm a student, and I'm sitting before my Rebbe, who is the dayan. And what happens? My Rebbe is adjudicating the case. And let's say my Rebbe is about to rule in favor of the rich person and against the poor person. Now again, he's not because he's favoring the rich person. It just happens to be that's how the case is shaking out. But I, the Talmud, I'm sitting there in front of my Rebbe, and essentially I see that there's a way to be malamed zchus for the ani. I see that there's a way ultimately again to rule in favor of the person who's about to be found guilty. How do I know that I should not remain silent, even though again it's going to cause me to speak up in front of my Rebbe? Talmud lomar midvar sheker tirchak. Therefore, the pasuk says, distance yourself from a falsehood. If you see a falsehood that is about to be perpetrated, you must stand up. Minay l'talmud sheroes rabo shetoe bedin. Shelo yomer amtin lo ad shigmarenu vestarenu vevnenu mishali k'dei shikra din al shmir. Rabbi say, how do I know that if I'm a Talmud and sitting in front of my Rebbe, and I know that my Rebbe is about to make a mistake in judgment. He's about to mistake. So I shouldn't say, you know what? Let the whole thing play out. Let him pass judgment. Then I'll overturn my Rebbe's judgment and let the judgment be known by my name. The Gemara says, "Tamalomar midvar sheker tirachak." So we'll say, you see the same thing over and over. The idea of what's the message over here, midvar sheker tirachak? What the Gemara understands the Torah is saying is, you can't. It's not just you're not allowed to lie. That's obvious. We'll see that later on. Actually, we don't need to see it later on. One is not allowed to lie, right? That's no machlokes about that, except when you can. There are circumstances where we're lying. No, we're lying is, we call it mitashas from the Hashalom. There are circumstances where a person could change the truth. In this context, we can't lie. Midvar sheker tirchak ravosa means that not only can I not lie, but I have to distance myself from false situations. I cannot allow false situations to unfold. If I have the ability to stop or to prevent the actualization of falsehood, it is my obligation to do so. Weiter. Minay l'talmud she'amar lo Rabbo yodea. So listen to this, Rabbi. How do I know about the following case? She'amar lo Rabbo yodea atabi shenostin li mea mana eini mevade. So how do I know that if my Rebbe tells me, listen, you know me to be an honest person, and if somebody gave me 100 mana, right, I would never go ahead and deny the claim. So listen to this. In other words, so my Rebbe tells me, you know I'm an honest person. Here's the deal. Yesh li eitzel ploni, ve'ein li alav ela eid echad. I lent Ploni $1,000, and he's denying it. And all I have is an eid echad. All I have is one witness. Do me a favor. Just come to Beis Din, and be my second witness. You know me to be an honest person. I would never make something up. I'm telling you that I lent money to Ruvain. I have one witness. I need a second. I know you didn't see it, but you could trust my integrity. We'll say, of course, again, it's an interesting case of integrity over here, right? At the end of the day, meaning the Gemara's case here is someone who I know to be absolutely honest. Yet, technically, what is he doing? He's asking me to do something dishonest. But yet, he's relying on the fact that I trust his honesty, that he's not making up this claim. So the Gemara says, how do I know that I can't combine? I can't go ahead and come to Beis Din with this other witness? Because the Torah says, midvar sheker tirchak. The Gemara says, Hai midvar sheker tirchak nafka, havadai shakuri kama shaker. Rabbi say that's a lie. That's meaning the cases of midvar sheker tirchak, Rabbi say, are cases where I see things that perhaps are false unfolding. I have to rectify it. Coming to Beis Din and saying that I'm a witness to something, when what? When I'm not a witness, as I will say, is not simply distancing yourself from a dvar sheker, but rather, again, that's called lying. That's called lying, to which the Gemara says, Rachmana Amar, lo sa'ana bre'acha et shaker. The Torah itself says, do not be a false witness. This is mamish alav daraisa. Elo kigon da'amar le, vadei chad sahada isli, v'sa ata kum hasam v'lo tema v'lo midi. V'daha lo mavkis mipumach shikra. We'll say, so what's the case over here? The case is where this great person, this honest person tells me, listen, all I need you to do is show up in Beis Din. I don't need you to say anything. Right? The other aid, the real aid echad, will do all of the talking. You don't have to do anything. Just sit there and smile and look honest. Just look honest, right? Just look like an aid, whatever that means, right? Look like an aid, and you don't have to do any of the talking. So I'm not being asked to lie. I'm just being asked to show up and present myself as part of a testimonial unit. Nevertheless, afilu haki aser, say first wide line lamed aleph amud aleph. Nevertheless, what's the halacha? Afilu haki aser mishum shenemar midvar sheker tirchak. Because we'll say the Torah says midvar sheker tirchak. Weiter, second line. Minay leno shebechaveiro mana shlo yomar et enu b'masayim. Also, listen to this. Reuven comes over to me, and Reuven says the following. Reuven says, I went ahead and I lent Shimon a money. I'm going to go ahead and go to Beis Din, and but what's happening? Now Reuven says to me, Shimon's denying the claim. So Reuven has a great cha. We'll say, what's the cha? So he's going to go. He's not denying the claim. Reuven lent Shimon $1,000, or we'll call it a money. What happens? Reuven says, here's what I'm going to do. At the end of Masayim, I'm going to go ahead and go to Beis Din and claim that Shimon owes me 200 money. I lent him 100. I'm going to go and claim that he owes me 200. Now, what's going to happen when I claim that he owes me 200? What's going to happen? So he's going to admit that I owe him 100. Both say, what do we call that? Modeh b'miktzas. What's the halacha of modeh b'miktzas? You're chayiv for the part that you admitted to, and you're chayiv a shvuah for the other part. Now, why does Reuben want Shimon to take a shvuah? The is chayiv li shvuah ve'agalgal alav shvuah makom acher. Because Reuben says, listen, there's a whole bunch of other stuff, other claims that I have against Shimon that I need him to take a shvuah on, but I can't get him to take a shvuah. So instead, I'm going to claim he owes me 200. I know he only owes me 100. He'll admit to the 100. He'll have to take a shvuah on the second 100. And once he's already taking a shvuah, so we can do Gilgul shvuah. Gilgul shvuah means that we could attach. Thank you. We could include a whole other bunch of other things for him to swear on. Things that we could not generate independent obligations to swear. Once he's already swearing, we could kind of lump on a whole bunch of other stuff. How do I know that I can't do this? Talmud Lomar, midvar sheker tirchak. Both listen to this. How do I know that if I lend my friend a money, vitano masayim, and I claim against him, right? And what happens? So both say, so I lend Ruvain a money. And what happens? Vitano masayim, and I claim against him 200. Shelo yomar achparenu bebezdin, va'odel chutz lebezdin, kedei shelo es chayev lo shvuah, v'lo yigalgil alai shor makom. So let's listen to this. Reuven, who is the borrower, has a great chap. Reuven says, listen, I know I owe Silber 100, but here's what I'm going to do. In Bezdin, I'm just going to deny the full amount. We'll say, what happens if you're kofer bakol? Kofer bakol, if you deny everything, right? You deny the entire monetary claim, then what happens? You are patur. There is no shvuah. So I lent Reuven $100. I come to Bezdin. I'm claiming 200. Reuven knows that he really owes me 100, but he figures like this: if I admit to the 100, what's going to happen? There's going to be a shvuah modeh b'miktzas. Reuven says, I don't want to take a shvuah. So instead, I'll just claim, Silber, I owe you nothing. When we walk out of Bezdin, I'll slip him a money. Right? I'll pay him back. But I don't want to go out and be chayiv a shvuah. How do I know that I can't do this? Therefore, we'll say, the pasuk says, distance yourself from sheker. So we'll say, again, same yesod over here. See, here's what's interesting. In these cases, if you'll notice, I know this sounds a little bit funny, my intentions are honest. Right? Meaning, if you notice over here, I'm not really trying to pull any kind of shtick. I'm not trying to get anything that I'm not entitled to. What I'm doing is, I'm manipulating the system to ultimately, again, to my advantage. But I'm not trying to get any more money than I'm entitled to. So the Gemara says, these are the kind of things that are very easily justifiable, because it's not, quote-unquote, dishonest, except that what? The Torah says it is. Meaning, midvar sheker tirchak. Just because at the end of the day you're not extracting any more than you're entitled to, manipulation of the system is still inappropriate. It might not be sheker, but it might be devar sheker. And therefore you have to distance yourself from that as well. Minayin l'shosha. Also listen to this case. How do I know that these are great cases? Minayin l'shosha shenoshim mani bechavero. Mani be'achad. So let's listen to this. Reuven, Shimon, and Levi lend me a money. The three of them together lend me a money. Now what happens, Rabbi say? There was no edus on the transaction. So they have a great chap. What's the great chap? So how do I know that three of them say the following? They have a great chap. What's the great chap? Reuven says, let's go to Bezdin. I'll say I'm the lender. Shimon and Levi, you're the witnesses, and we'll get the money back from Silber. Now, both say the truth is, it's not an incorrect statement. Meaning, at the end of the day, they are. Here's the difference. If you are the balabas, right? If you're the claimant, then by definition you're not a witness. So, but on the other hand, so we have three claimants. I want to say one of us will be the claimant, two of us will be the witnesses, and we'll get the money back. So the Gemara says, midvar sheker tirchak. No, can't do it. Midvar sheker tirchak. So we'll say, is it a lie? Is it a lie? No. But it's a dvar sheker. We'll say it's dishonest. So interestingly enough, what you see over here, the Gemara highlighting over here, is that at the end of the day, because we'll say, remember, what this case by definition includes is a misrepresentation. You see, this has Reuven showing up as the claimant, and Shimon and Levi showing up as non-claimants, but instead as impartial witnesses. That's the misrepresentation over here. At the end of the day, are they trying to get back any more than what they're entitled to? No. But it's dishonest in the representation of the facts. Therefore, the Torah says, midvar sheker tirchak. Minayin l'shnayim shebo l'din. Let's listen to this. How do you know that if two people show up in court? Reuven and Shimon show up in court. Again, they're the claimants, the plaintiff and the defendant. Echad lavush smartutin, v'echad lavush itzilis bas me'amana. One is showing up in literally dressed in rags, and the other is dressed, comes in fine clothing. Minayin she'omrim lo. We'll say, how do we know that? We say to the wealthy person, either levush kamoso, or he'll be shu kamosecha. We'll say, this is amazing. We say to the wealthy individual, here's your choice. Either change into rags, or give the other guy a nice outfit. In other words, we'll say, you cannot have a situation where you have the two parties in court, and there's a clear disparity in their financial or social standing based on their external appearances. Therefore, again, we tell the wealthier of the two, you've got a choice. Either change into simpler clothing, or give the other guy an outfit for him to to change into. So the Gemara says, how do we know that we have to do this? Talmud Lomar, midvar sheker tirchak. Because we will say, if there's too great of a disparity in the external appearance between the two litigants, it looks as if the case itself is tilted. Kihavu, listen to this. Kihavu also l'kamei de Rava Barafuna. When litigants would come before Rava Barafuna and they were wealthy, Amar luhu shlufu puzmu kaichu v'chosu ledina. Take off your fine linen slippers and come in for dinner. So this wasn't a din of being makbid not to come into the house with shoes on. Right? This was a din of creating a certain amount of equality between the litigants. So if somebody came in wearing something puzmukayim were apparently fine linen slippers. If you came into Beis Din wearing that, Rabbi Rafuna would say, leave it at the door. So how do we know that a dayan is not permitted? Well, it's actually a very important halacha. How do we know that a dayan is not permitted to listen to one of the litigants before the other one arrives in court? We'll say, let's say again, one of the claimants comes in early. He comes in early. How do I know that the dayan is not permitted to listen to him before the other one arrives? To which the Gemara says, Talmud Lomar, midvar sheker tirchak. Therefore, the pasuk says, distance yourself from sheker. Minayin lebaldin shlo yatim dvar l'dayin kodem sheyavo baldin chavero. We'll say, how do I know? So we'll say, that was the dayan. Right? The dayan can't listen to one of the sides before the other party arrives in Beis Din. We'll say, that's the dayan. How do I know that the baldin? We'll say, I have a dispute with Reuven, and we're coming to Beis Din. I get to Beis Din a little bit early, and I start telling over my side to the dayan. So the first case was the dayan is not allowed to listen. How do I know that I, as the litigant, am not permitted to start advancing my argument to the dayan before my fellow litigant occurs? To which the Gemara says, Talmud Lomar, midvar sheker tirchak. So again, the obligation is upon the dayan not to listen to one of the parties before the other one arrives, and the obligation is upon each of the parties not to advance their arguments before the other one arrives. Rav Kahana Masni Milo Sisa Lo Sasi. Suppose it's actually very interesting. So Rav Kahana darshan this based on the following. Pasuk says Lo Sisa Shema Shav. Literally again, do not go ahead. It literally means do not take God's name in vain. But I will say what Rav Kahana is saying is do not give false testimony. So it's Lo Sisa means don't do it. Lo Sasi means do not cause it to be heard. So Rav Kahana says one prohibition is on the dayan, that the dayan can't listen to one of the litigants before both are present, and lo sasi is on the litigants themselves. I can't cause my side to be heard before the other party is present. Vasher lo tov. So the Gemara quotes now over here a pasuk from Yechezkel. Vasher lo tov asa b'soch amav. The person, so it says referring to a person. Asher lo tov asa b'soch amav. He did not do good, or he did not cause good to be performed within his nation. Who is that? Rav Amar Bo said, this is amazing. Zeh habar b'harsha. We'll say, this is someone who allows himself to be represented by a lawyer in Beis Din. Right? He did not do good. If you allows himself to be represented by lawyers, we'll say, what is this, a knock on lawyers? No. What it is, we'll do that later. But the Gemara says, we'll say, look at Rashi for just a moment. This is actually quite amazing. Zeh habar b'harsha. So what happens? We'll say, I have a din Torah. I appoint the lawyer to go and argue on my behalf. Chazal don't look at this favorably. Why? V'shema harishon noach lo v'noach lepshara yoser mizeh she'ino yochal lasos pshara b'mamon acherim. We'll say, listen to this. If I go to Beis Din myself, I as the litigant, because in the eyes of the Gemara, I am more prone to pshara. In other words, I would be more receptive, ultimately, again, to settle, or more receptive to a compromise. If someone else is representing me, so first of all, again, that person may not be empowered to make pshar on my behalf, and also both say sometimes that person may not be as desirous of shalom as I am. So therefore, again, Chazal did not look favorably, ultimately, again, upon being represented by someone else. Both say this doesn't cover cases where, let's say, there are situations where I can't represent myself because of a variety of reasons, either because of lack of knowledge of the complexity of the laws in which I'm stirred, or a variety of other reasons. That's not what it's talking about. This is not a situation where I can represent myself. I can, but for whatever reason, it's just I choose not to. Chazal didn't look favorably upon that because there was a feeling that there's less of a chance of compromise. The Gemara says, Shmuel says this refers to someone who buys contested property. If you buy contested property, so you know that there are claims against this property, and you go ahead and you buy it anyway. And why do you buy it? If you look at the last line of Rashi, Rashi says, I rely on the fact that I have muscle. And if anybody starts up with me, I'm just going to beat them up. That's not a good way to live, right? That's not an appropriate thing. You shouldn't enter into business dealings, where it's contested, where there are people who are claiming that it's not honestly owned. And therefore, Chazal said, this is a person who does lo tov b'soch amav. Fine. So let's remember again, the Mishnah said that the Shevuos Ha'idus only applies to people who have the ability to testify. So says the Gemara, Lafuke Mai, who does this come to exclude? Amra Papa Lafuke Melech, to come to exclude the king. Both say when it comes to the king, the pasuk says, Som Tasim Alecha Melech. You have to place a king upon you, and we dash it from there, Shetei Amaso Alecha. That ultimately, again, the reverence of the king, the fear of the king should be upon you. Both say someone who comes to give testimony has to stand before a Beis Din. Therefore, again, it is inappropriate, based on the station, the honor of the king does not give testimony. The king can't be called to give testimony. And therefore, we'll say, because of the king can't give testimony, then what? Then he can't be called upon to take a Shevuos Ha'idus. Because remember, what's a Shevuos Ha'idus? Shevuos Ha'idus is, I can cause someone to swear that they don't know testimony on my behalf. So the king, because he can't be called upon to give testimony because it's a slight to his honor, also isn't chayiv in Shevuos Ha'idus. So the Gemara says, Rachabar Yaakov Amar, Lafuki Misachik Bekuvya. No, it comes to include who Rabbi was saying, comes to include the habitual gambler. The habitual gambler, so we learned this earlier on, that the Mesachik Bekuvya is Pasal Eidus Midirabanan. Mandar Mesachik Bekuvya Kol Shekei Melech, the one who says that the Mesachik Bekuvya, I will say, is pater from Shevuos Ha'idus. Because what? Because he's unfit to give testimony. All the more so agrees that a king doesn't take the Shevuos Ha'idus. Because remember, the king is prohibited midoraisa. Right? The obligation to give the king honor and not do anything that erodes his honor is a biblical precept. So if the Mesachik Bekuvya doesn't take the Shevuos Hadayonim, all the more so the king does not. Uman Tamar Melech Aval Mesachik Bekuvya Midoraisa Mechsachazi V'Rabbanan Hu Devaslo. The one who says that the king is excluded may hold that the Mesachik Bekuvya can give testimony. Why? Because the Mesachik Bekuvya is only Asr Midirabbanan. Fine. Bifnei Beizin v'shol Bifnei Beizin. So let's remember again, we had a machlokes over here about what the nature of Shevuos Hadayanin is inside a Beizin and outside of it. So let's listen to this. So let's remember again, the Mishnah recorded the machlokes between Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim. So what are they arguing about? Watch this. The Gemara says, Bidon minei umina, bidon mina v'uki ba'asra kamefligi. Listen to this. What they're arguing about is as follows. We've actually seen this exegetical machlokes before, which is as follows. When you learn something out, we'll say, from another place. So let's say again, I learn out B from A based on a Gzeir Shava. Right? Matter B from matter A based on a Gzeir Shava. We'll say there's a fundamental machlokes, an exegetical machlokes, as to how far I take that Gzeir Shava. So some say, Don Mine Umina. So some say, Domine Mina means, Rabbi say, once I learn out B from A, based on a Gzeir Shava, I can extend that Gzeir Shava even further than the basic law learned out. That's Don Mine Umina. As opposed to Don Mine V'oki Basra means, I can learn out B from A, but the limud, Rabbi say, is limited to that one thing. For the rest of the halachos of B, we go back to the original source of B and learn out the remainder of the halachos from there. So you'll see it play out right now. So it says the Gemara, Rabbi Meir holds, Don mina umina, maybe kadon. Rabbi Meir as adopts the principle that we're going to learn out Shevuos Hadayanin from Pikadon, from the case of a deposit. And I've also said, don't mina means we take the Gzer Shava and we can extend it even further out. How so? Ma Pikadon, Moshe Biatzmo Chayiv, just like Rabbi say Pikadon. If a person takes the Shvuah on their own, they're going to be Chayiv. Av Eidos, Mushro Biatzmo Chayiv. Rabbi say, so to Shvuas Eidos, if a person takes the Shvuah of their own volition, they'll be Chayiv. Umina. And I will say we extend the Gzer Shav when we say as follows: Ma Pikadon bein bebezdin bein shelo bebezdin. Just like Shvuas HaPikadon, whether you take that Shvuah in Bezdin or outside of Bezdin, you'll be Chayiv. Av Eidos bein bebezdin bein shelo bebezdin. Ultimately, on Shvuah say this, I will say as well, whether you take that Shvuah in Bezdin, outside of Bezdin, you'll be Chayiv. The Rabbanan will say, Rabbanan and Savri, Don mina va'oki ba'asra. Go ahead and learn it out from the source, but establish it in its original place. What does that mean? Ma pikadon mushoy biatzmo chayiv. Just like pikadon, I will say, if you take the shvuah yourself, you're chayiv. Av edus mushoy biatzmo chayiv. But I say so too by shvuah edus. If you take the shvuah of your own volition, you'll be chayiv. V'uki basra. But I will say now learn the remainder of the halachos of shvuah edus, not out from pikadon, but rather ultimately again from shvuah edus. Ma mushoy biachirim bebezdin and shlo bebezdin lo. Just like I will say, if the shvuah is administered by others, that only works in Bezdin, but outside of Bezdin not. Af mushma biasmo bebezdin in shelo bebezdin lo. So Rabbi in a case of mushma biasmo, you take the shvuah yourself. It only works in Bezdin, but not outside of Bezdin. I'll say Amud Beis. Amud Rapapa. So Rapapa says, 1 second. Imi pikadon gamri lo rabbanon. So imi pikadon gamri lo. Excuse me. Imi pikadon gamri lo rabbanon. So we'll say if you're going to say that the rabbanon learn out from pikadon. Everyone will agree that Rabbi will say what? That you can learn the Gzer Shava and you could extend the Gzer Shava. Ela hainu time of the Rabbanon, but perhaps the reasoning of the Rabbanon is as follows: D'maisula b'kavachomer. We'll say perhaps it around the kavachomer. What's the kavachomer? Uma mipi achirim chayiv mipi asma lokol shekain. If you're going to be chayiv ultimately mipi achirim, so certainly you'll be chayiv mipi atzmo. Whenever you learn out kavachomer, so the principle of dayo. What's the principle of dayo? That Rabbi say the thing you're learning out can be no more chomer than the source item from which you are learning, and therefore we'll say ma mushum be'achirim bebezdin in shlo bebezdin lo. But in the case of mushum be'achirim, the halacha is that oath could only be administered in Bezdin, but not outside of Bezdin. Af mushum epiatzmo mipi bezdin in shlo mipi bezdin lo. So to say, if you're taking the oath yourself, that oath can only be administered in bezdin itself, but not outside of bezdin. Amar Rabbanan Rapapa mi matis amris the la b'dor mina umina pligi. Could it be that you're going to say that the machlokes in Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim is not about the principle of don mina umina? Vatan Rabbi say, but we learn vatan game pikadon shvas pikadon. Rabbi say, we'll see. This is a latter Mishnah. When it comes to Shevuos HaPikadon, Rabbi say Shevuos HaPikadon means somebody deposited something with me, and now I'm taking a shvuah that item is no longer in my possession. So the Gemara says we learned about Shevuos HaPikadon, Shevuos HaPikadon. No heges ba'anoshim u'benashim. It applies to both men and women. Berechokin u'bikrovim. With people who are related to me, unrelated to me, b'kshena b'psulin, with people who are kasher le'edis, pasal le'edis, b'fnei beizin v'shelo b'fnei beizin. In the presence of beizin, not in the presence of beizin, mi pi atzmo u mi pi achirim. Both Rabbi say again whether I take the shvuah or the shvuah is administered by others. Eino chayiv ad sheyichbar bebeizin div Rabbi Meir. Meir holds Rabbi say that I'm not chayiv for Shevuos HaPikadon until again I deny it in Beizin. The Chachamim say, Bein mi pi atzmo, bein mi pi achirim, kevan shekafar bo chayiv. But at the end of the day, whether I go ahead and I take the oath myself, whether I go ahead and the oath is administered by others, kevan shekafar bo chayiv. Ultimately, again, if I deny it, I'm going to be chayiv. I Moshe pi achirim bepikadon menolu the Rabbanan the chayiv. Where did the Rabbanan get this idea about say? that if I'm mushba mi piachir and by case of pikadon, that I'll be chayiv. Lav di gamri la me'edus. Rabbi say it must be that what? That I'm learning it out from the case of Shevuos Eidos. And therefore, what do you see? Ushma mina. What do I learn from here? Bidon mina umina pligi. We'll say that the machlokes ultimately again is regarding the principle of don mina umina, to which the Gemara says, Shramina bedon mina mine pligi. Me'ahi in me'ahel lekal mashna. We'll say, so the Gemara says, inachinami. From this Mishnah, ultimately again about Shevuos HaPikadon, I could go in and learn that out. Ultimately again, but from the previous Mishnah, I could not. Fine, so both sides. So bottom line, halacha l'maisa, how do we paskin? So the halacha ultimately again is like the chachamim, which means what Rabbi say that when it comes to Shevuos Eidos, whether I am taking the Shevuos mipi asa piachem. So remember again, there are two ways in which I can take a Shevuos Eidos. What are the two ways? Either I myself swear that I don't know any Eidos for Ruvain, or we'll say what happens. Someone else articulates the Shavua, and what do I do? I say Amen. So we'll say either way, that's called Shevuos Eidos. But again, we pass like the Chachamim that Shavua could only be taken in Beis Din itself. Shevuos Eidos is supposed to be taken outside of Beis Din is absolutely meaningless. It is only the Shua that is taken inside of Beis Din, I will say, that is a meaningful Shua, like the Chachamim. Good. Weiter. V'chayavin azadon hashvua. We'll say I'm chayiv for intentional violation of this shvua. So says the Gemara, Hechi dami. I'm sorry, minhanim yibi. How do I know this? So we'll say what this means is the following: that if I intentionally lie, meaning Ruvain says, Silber, come to Beis Din and testify on my behalf because you know testimony for me. I say, no, I don't, and I'm lying. I do know Eidos, but I'm choosing not to get involved. How do I know? Both say so. The halach is I'm still chayav a carbon olev yored. How do I know this? The Tana Rabbanon bekulan ne'amar b'havenelam. Both say in the other cases, ultimately of carbon olev yored, it says v'ne'elam that ultimately when do you bring the carbon? If the truth is hidden from you. In other words, that you forgot. The kind, but I will say Shevuos Eidos lo ne'amar ba v'ne'elam. It doesn't use the word v'ne'elam. Therefore, it teaches me what? Lechayiv ala mezid kishogeg. Because it teaches me that what? That I'm chayiv for a case of mezid, like a case of shogeg. And if I will say, Allah says this is quite dramatic. Even if I intentionally lie, I know, right? Ruvain says, Silber, come to Beis Din and testify on my behalf. And what do I say? Ruvain, I swear I don't know any testimony from you. I will say, I know that what? I'm mamish lying. I absolutely no edus. Yet, what's the halacha Rabbi say? I am still chayiv. A carbon olev yored. How do I know this? Because the pasuk doesn't say v'ne'elam that it was hidden from me by the case of Shevuos Eidos. Good.
Is that the kapara?
That's the halacha. Does that atone for the sin? I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. So it says, yeah, I guess if that's your ownership, and that's your kapara as well. Says the Gemara. So the Gemara says, "Ve'in chayovin al shirasa gredasa." So we're saying, I am not chayiv ultimately again for plain shogig. We'll say, so a case of shogig ultimately again will be a situation where lamais again at the time I took the shvua, I mamish didn't remember that I knew Eidos on behalf of Ruvain. I didn't realize that I know Eidos on behalf of Ruvain. Later on, I remember. So the Gemara says, I'm not going to be chayiv carbon olev yard in that case. Leima tanina l'drav kana v'dravasi. But say, remember again in like 2 days ago. 2 days ago, we'll say we had. 2 days ago on Daf Lamed, we had the case of Rav Kana and Ravasi. What was the case of Rav Kana and Ravasi? We'll say it was Rav Kana and Ravasi both heard the shir from Rav. Remember this case? And what happens? After the shir, they are having a machlokes about what Rav said. So Rav Kahana got up and Rav Kahana said, I swear Rav said like this. Rav Asi said, I swear Rav said like this. Rav came, one of them was right, one of them was wrong. And the Gemara doesn't identify who was right, who was wrong. And what happens to both sides? So the one who was wrong said to Rav, Rebbe, did I make a false shvua? So Rav said, no. Libcha ansach. Your heart, literally again, ansach. Your heart took advantage of it. In other words, no, you made a mistake. So says the Gemara, Lema Tanei Rav Kana Ravasi. To which the Gemara says, so what? Look at Rashi just a moment. We'll say, what do we learn out from here? Why don't we answer? Why didn't we answer? Why didn't the Gemara answer Rav Kana Rav Asi's problem from this Gemara? What does this Gemara teach us about? That if I think I'm swearing correctly, but it turns out that I swore falsely, that I'm not chayiv for that. So why don't we answer? Why did Rav have to come along and make them feel better? Plus, the fact that what's the halacha say? If Reuben says, Silber, you know Edus for me, and I say, no, I don't, and at the time, and I swear to that effect, and at the time that I swore, I mamish didn't remember that I knew Edus for Reuven. So we'll say, what's the halacha? The halacha is that I am pater. So this seems to be a first answer to Rav Kana Rav Asi's problem. Both of them. Both of them swore. But at the end of the day, they both thought that they were saying the truth. So neither should be chayiv. To which the Gemara says, "Lo afagav disnan, it's drich." Even though we could have learned this out from the Mishnah, Rav was still required to say what he said. Why? Sagadai tchamina hachu delok sivenelam debainon shogeg dumya demezid. So I would have said it's dafka in the case of Shevuos Saidus, where ultimately, again, the pasuk does not write v'ne'elam, that you require a case of shogeg dumya demezid. Aval hasa, but Abosa in the previous case, which essentially was a Shevuos bitoy, dichsev v'ne'elam, afilu shkaga koltu. I might have thought Abosa that one should be chayiv even for any amount of shkaga. Therefore, again, or I should say that, look at Rashi, v'afilu shkaga koltu, afilu anus belibonus chayiv. That even Abosai, if again he was mamashronis, he would be chayiv. Kamash malano. So what essentially the Gemara says over here is you can't really learn out Shevuos bitoy from Shevuos Eidos for one simple reason: that at the end of the day, by the case of Shevuos Eidos, the Torah used lashon of v'ne'elam, which I'm sorry, I said that wrong. By Shevuos Eidos, the Torah does not say a lashon of v'ne'elam, as opposed to Shevuos bitoy, which it does. Therefore, I might have thought that the threshold for Shevuos bitoy would be more intense. Kamash Mulon Rav tells Rav Kana Rav Asi that since at the time you took the Shvuah, you thought that you were telling the truth, therefore Lamaisa again you will not be chayiv. Fine. So it says in Mishnah. Shevuos Eidos case. Say still one more Mishnah about Shevuos Eidos. What is the case of Shevuos Eidos? So we'll say, what's the mechanics of Shevuos Eidos? Amr l'shnayim. So we'll say, here's how it unfolds. I say to two people, Bo'u ve'iduni shvush, Bo'u ve'iduni. I say to two witnesses, I say to Reuben and Shimon, you know testimony on my behalf, come and testify for me in front of Beis Din. What do they say? Shvuah she'ein anu yodin l'cha eidos. So what happens? Reuben and Shimon say, Silber, we swear we don't know any eidos on your behalf. Osha amru lo ein anu yodin l'cha eidos. Or Rabbi say, what happens? So case number one is, I say, Reuven and Shimon come and testify on my behalf. And what's their response? Their response is, we swear we know no testimony on your behalf. That's case number one. Case number two is, Osha amru lo ein adin yodin l'cha eidos. Reuven and Shimon, I say, Reuven and Shimon come to Beis Din. And Reuven and Shimon say, I'm so sorry. We don't know any eidos on your behalf. I say, Mashbi'a ani aleichem. I articulate the Shon. So I make you swear that you know no eidos on my behalf. V'amru amen, and they say amen. So both say that's a case of mushba mepiacherim. Hare elu chayav. Both say it turns out that they're lying. They know eidos. So what's the halacha? Both say they'll be chayav for lying. Hishpi aleim chamesh pamim chutz lebeis. Both listen to this. Let's say that I made them swear 5 times outside of Beis Din. They swore 5 times that they don't know any eidos on my behalf. Ubo leidus Beis Din, and they come to Beis Din. And what happens to when they come to Beis Din? Vahodu. We'll say hodu means what? They admit that they know testimony on my behalf. We'll say what's the halacha? Peturin. We'll say what's their pater. We'll say why are they pater? This goes what we just said before. Because we pass like the chachamim. How do we pass? We'll say that Shevuos Eidos could only be undertaken in Beis Din, which means any Shevuos Eidos that you take outside of Beis Din, we'll say is meaningless. Therefore, they're pater. Kafru. So we'll say again, we'll define these cases in the Gemara if they go ahead and they deny, right? If they go ahead and they deny that they know any eidos in Beis Din, they'll be chayiv for each and every one of the shuas. So we'll say, we'll discuss the mechanics of that case in the Gemara. Hishbi alein hey pam if they bezdin. We'll say, but let's say again, I went ahead and I made them take 5 Shevuos in front of Bezdin, v'kafru, and I will say, then they denied that they know any Eidos, so they swore 5 times in front of Bezdin that they know Eidos, they swore 5 times that they don't know any Eidos, and they made this shur in front of Bezdin, v'kafru, and I will say, they denied they knew any Eidos, and it turns out that they're liars. Einon chayavin ela achos. I will say, they are only chayiv once. They are only chayiv once. So the Gemara says, what's the reason? So because essentially, once they take the first Shavua, then what? They're done. In other words, the halacha is, and we'll discuss this in greater depth in the Gemara, there's a concept by Eidim of Kevan Shehigid, Shuv Eno Chozer Yachal Lahagid. Once a witness gives testimony, he can't recant that testimony. Therefore, again, halacha l'maisa, once he's taken the first Shavua, essentially the subsequent Shavuos are meaningless. So the Gemara goes weiter. We'll stop over here for today. I know I'm stopping in the middle of the Mishnah, but we'll stop in the middle of the Mishnah. We'll continue over here tomorrow. I'll share with you a short idea on the parasha. So I will say one of the beautifully dramatic episodes in the parasha is where Yaakov Avinu blesses his grandchildren. Right? Yaakov Avinu has the great schus to go ahead and bless you. Yaakov Avinu essentially, Soloveitchik has a whole piece about this where he writes that Yaakov was the first Jewish grandfather. He was the first Zayda. Because if you think about it, by the other avos, we don't really see much of a relationship between grandparents and grandchildren. Yaakov Avinu was the first one who mamish had the schus to be able to really know his grandchildren. So the pasuk says, and again, this is the pasuk that impacts us dramatically to this very day. Pasuk memches, pasuk chaf, vayivarechim bayomahu leimor. Chapter 48, verse 20. Yaakov Avinu went ahead and blessed them that day, saying, blessed Ephraim and Menashe. B'cha yivarech Yisrael leimor. Klal Yisrael will forever bless their children through you. Yisimcha Elokim ke'Ephraim and Menashe. That may HaKadosh Baruch Hu make you like Ephraim and Menashe, vayasem as Ephraim lifnei Menashe. And ultimately, again, he put Ephraim before Menashe. So both say, much attention is given to this pasuk because of the changing of the birth order, even though, again, Menashe was older, but ultimately, Yaakov puts Ephraim before Menashe. And again, the greatness of this bracha is, for some reason, Yaakov Avinu makes Ephraim and Menashe like the paradigm of Jewish blessing. Which Shabbos say, and again, there's much written about this. We don't know all that much about Ephraim and Menashe. It doesn't say Yisimcha Elokim ke'Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov, right? Which would parallel the girl's bracha. It doesn't say Yisimcha Elokim ke'Moshe v'Yoshua, David u'Shlomo, but rather again ke'Ephraim u'Menashe. Okay, so we've spoken about in the past the uniqueness of Ephraim and Menashe, why they become the paradigm of bracha. But I will say, I want to share with you a magnificent idea by the tzaddik Moshe Leib of Sasov. And Moshe Leib says that there's a different bracha embedded in this pasuk. You see, everybody focuses that we're blessing our children, told them to be like Ephraim and Menashe. The Rebbe says there's a different bracha in this pasuk. He says the bracha is already contained in the beginning. Vayivarechem bayom hahu lemor. Says the Rebbe, that's the bracha. Vayivarechem bayom hahu. What's the bracha of bayom hahu? Beirach osam sheyivakshu v'yispalalu rak al tzorchei hayom hahu. The bracha that Yaakov Avinu gave his grandchildren, and the bracha that ultimately he gives us, is the bracha of bayom hahu. I give you the bracha of today. That when you live your life, you should daven. When you live your life, you should actualize your potential. Bayom hahu, v'lo yidagu da'agas machar. Do not spend your life worrying about tomorrow. So what the Rebbe is saying is as follows. So many of us spend all of our energies focusing on the future that we forget to maximize the present. We spend so much of our time focusing on planning. What's going to happen? What's going to be? How do I set myself up for success? That we forget that the way to set yourself up for success, Rabbi Shmuel, has nothing to do with your future. The way to set myself up for success ultimately is how? By maximizing my present. See, Rabbi say, here's the great secret in life. You don't control your future. You don't control tomorrow. You don't control next year. Rabbi say, we've spoken about before, there's a beautiful Gemara Masechah Shabbos. Remember again, the Gemara says that David HaMelech asks the Ribono Shalom, when am I going to die? And what does Choshen Baruch Hu say? You're going to die on Shabbos. David HaMelech says, I don't want to die on Shabbos. Let me die on Sunday. So Choshen Baruch Hu says, you can't die on Sunday. Why? Because Kivar Higia Eis Shlomo Bin Chalimloch Vein Malchus Nogia Bechaver Tafilu Kimalinima. Sunday is really the time for the monarchy of Shlomo, and one monarchy cannot overlap with another monarchy, ultimately, again, even by a hair's breadth. So what does David HaMelech say? Fine, let me die on Friday. What does Choshen Baruch Hu say? Shalom says, one day of your life in this world is worth more to me than the tens of thousands of karbanos that will be brought in the Beis HaMikdash that your son Shlomo is going to build. Rabosai, that's the power of a day. The Rebbe Shalom, can you imagine this? Can you imagine living a life that is so impactful that the Rebbe Shalom says to me, one day of your life in this world is worth more to me than the tens of thousands of karbanos that will be brought in the Beis HaMikdash to be built. Ultimately, Rabosai, the power of the day, the power of today. Every single day, Rabosai, is an olam b'fnei atzmo. Every single day is a world unto itself. Every single day is a lifetime unto itself. I've mentioned this before. The Ger Rebbe, the Sasema, says something so beautiful. He says, we often measure time in a continuum of weeks, months, and years. The Rebbe says, the best way to live life is to look at life. The entire continuum of life is encased in what Rebbe say? One day. When you wake up in the morning, Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov. What's the, we'll say, the Mazel Tov is not that you get out of bed, right? That's the Mazel Tov. The Mazel Tov is, I'm not sure, of course. The Mazel Tov is, I'm born. I'm born every single day. Every single morning is a rebirth. I'm born. And Abba say comes about 10, 11 in the morning, right? What happens? Mazel Tov, Bar Mitzvah. Comes about noontime, Mazel Tov, the Chuppah, right? Comes about mid-afternoon, I'm in my 30s, 40s, Mincha time, 50s, 60s, in between Mincha time, 70, 80s, Seisak Ochavim, 120 Baruch Dayan Emes. Another day has gone by, another unit of lifetime has gone by. We'll say every single day is a day unto itself. Every single day is olam. We'll say successful living, meaningful living is a person who maximizes each and every day. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given me the gift of birth this morning, that means I have something dramatic. I have something amazing. I have something cathartic to accomplish today. Rabbi say, don't let the day slip through your fingers. Don't let the, so many times in life we look back and we say to ourselves, the worst thing a person could ever say in life. What's the Rabbi say? What's the worst thing a person could ever say in life? Where did the day go? Right? Like a person's like, where did the day go? Like some kind of tippish. Like where did the day go? You fool. Where did the day go? You squandered it. You wasted it. You didn't maximize it. You got caught up in things that I shouldn't get caught up in. I don't mean these Yisurim and Averos. I just mean like silliness, things that aren't advancing my life agenda. Don't ask where did the day go. You know exactly where the day went. The day went the way they went to nothing. They went down the drain because I didn't maximize it on both sides. So many times it's 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 10 days, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, and then a person never stops asking, where did the day go? Instead, what do they ask? Where did my life go? And Abosai, people ask that question. People ask, where did my life go? I had so many dreams, so many goals. Where did my life go? And Abosai, it's not because I made dramatic mistakes, and Baruch Hashem, I didn't do anything bad, and thank God I'm a pretty good person, but if you're not vigilant with how you spend your days, then a lifetime goes by and I haven't accomplished the things I want to. That says the great Tzaddik Moshe Leibov Sasov is the great bracha. The great bracha is not Yisimcha Elokim Kefraim Menashe. That's a secondary bracha. The great bracha is Vayivarchem Bayom Hahu. The bracha I give you, says the Rebbe, is Bayom Hahu. That today is the day. The day. Which day? The day. The day that I'm going to maximize. The day that I'm going to make the most of. The day that I'm going to accomplish. It's not some other day. So you both say, everybody has that day where I'm going to accomplish great things. Just one thing I know for sure, which is what? It's not today. It's not. It's a short Friday, for sure. Like today's pretty much done already. Today, I can't accomplish anything great today. The great day is going to come. But one thing I know is for sure it's not today, and it's not Shabbos also because I'm tired on Shabbos. It's not Sunday because it's a family day. Monday is a legal holiday. So Baruch Hashem, already again I'm up to Tuesday in life, and there's absolutely no obligation to accomplish anything before Tuesday. We'll say it's not the way the Yid works. Vayivarech, vayivarechem bayomahu. Every day is the day. Every day is the day. That's the great bracha that Yaakov Avinu ultimately gives to his grandchildren. It's the great bracha he gives us, and Rabbi say we should be zochem Yirtzeh Hashem to not only hear this bracha. First of all, this is the bracha I would suggest that we give our children on Shabbos night also. Not just Yisimcha Elokim Ke'Ephraim Menashe or Yisimecha Elokim Ke'Soref Korach Avaleya, but imagine if we start to give our children this bracha. My dear child, I give you the bracha bayomahu, bayomahu. That you should be Zochem Yirtzeh Hashem to make every day the day. Should be Zochem Yirtzeh Hashem to maximize all of your days, not just some of them. That you should be Zochem Yirtzeh Hashem to live a life of Bayomahu. Maximizing every moment.
Every day.